Are you thinking of launching a live event? Would you like to have a big party with 800 of your closest friends? Well, that's exactly what my guest today, Jessica Kupferman, decided to do in her 40s when she launched her She Podcast live event. It was a raging success. We talk about some of the pitfalls and lessons she learned along the way. Hello, dreamers. Welcome to the Late Starters Club, giving you the inspiration, mindset, and tools you need to start something midlife and beyond. Remember, it's never too late to follow your dreams. Hello, late starters. It's your host, Andrea Vall, and I am here joined by the amazing, the wonderful Jessica Kupferman, who is, I have, she is hilarious, first of all. And I actually was having a hard time starting the show because she was making me laugh. So
Sorry.
this is going to be fun. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
So, for those of you who do not know Jessica, Jessica is a dynamic entrepreneur, speaker, podcasting expert. She's helped thousands of women podcasters and content creators find their voice and reach their audience. She runs an amazing conference called She Podcast Live. Her site is She Podcast. So, welcome, Jessica.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be on your show.
I
I
know.
adore you.
So
You know that.
fun. So
Yeah, it's
fun.
gonna be
Yay.
great. I'm happy
Yeah,
we can
and
have a podcast.
we got to hang out together earlier this year at Podfest, and
It was
we
so fun.
so fun. So and I'm excited to be going to She Podcast in Washington DC coming up in June, and we'll
Hmm.
talk more about that. We'll give that a good plug at the end too, but like well, and we're actually going to talk about getting that event started because you
Yeah,
started that later in life, a
I
live
did.
event. Yes.
What
So
a mistake. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
we'll get to the disasters. We'll talk about
Yes, sorry. One thing
So
at a time.
tell us a little bit about how you got started doing this, kind of what your mission was when you started.
So, I've had She Podcast as like a community that I've been working with or for like 10, it'll be 10 years next year, I think.
Mhm,
2014?
mhm.
Yeah, 10 years next year. So, my partner Elsie and I had done little workshops and we'd done webinars and we've done all kinds of things. We never got to do a conference, and there were other podcasting conferences that were happening, but they were co-ed, which there's nothing wrong with that. But when you have a
Right.
co-ed conference and it's a tech conference, it can be a little, intimidating for female identifying people.
Mhm.
They tend to feel like someone's, like it's like they're not doing it, but they feel like someone's competing with them or trying to teach them how to do something they didn't ask to be taught how to do. Or, there's just something safe and comfortable about just having a conference with women,
Mhm.
to be able to feel like you can ask whatever question, no one's going to laugh, that people are all there genuinely trying to just help you get through what you're doing. So,
Right. Right, it's definitely a different
yeah.
vibe, different energy.
Yeah, so we wanted that. I was told that we wanted that, and so I did a Kickstarter for that, and we raised money for it, and then we had the event, and then 4 months later there was a pandemic. And that's when things got quirky.
Mhm.
But up until then, I mean, I really was like, if somebody asked me the question, this is actually how it was, an aha moment actually. Um, some I was on a podcast interview and someone said, "What would you do with $1 million?" And I've always had the same answer. And that answer is throw an enormous party and invite all the people I love to hang out with each other,
Right.
because I think they would really enjoy each other's company. And then when I said, I don't even remember what show it was on, but when I said it, I went, "Oh, I should do a conference." Like immediately I thought, of course this is what you know what I mean? And I certainly don't
Yeah.
have $1 million, but like it just seemed like, I've been doing that my whole life, marrying different groups of friends together to go on vacations or to, have lunch, like I'm always like not even on purpose, but just because I like this person, I like this person. So of course they're gonna like each other. You come too,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
actually, I did that with you, did I not? We sat and
I
had 2 different meals with total strangers that you had no idea,
Yeah.
but I was just like, "They're cool. Come on, let's go."
I know, and it was so fun, and I love that
Yeah,
because, it is that whole thing of like, "Hey, these I think these people are gonna get along," and we just had a blast, so that is
yeah, it was a
great, and
blast.
and I love the fact that you would do that if you had $1,000,000, but you did it Without $1,000,000, you did.
That wasn't my
Nope.
smartest move, but yes, I did without yeah.
But
Yeah.
it was a success, right? You had 300 or how many
The
people
first
did you
year
have?
was 800 attendees,
Oh my gosh,
and I'd
800
only
attendees.
and I had only kickstart funded 50,000. In fact, the ask was 25, but we
Mm,
somehow doubled it to
wow.
50,000.
Wow.
So we had $50,000 for the event, and we had a hotel that was kind of at a discount because it was like on the fly. Like we booked the hotel like 6 months before, which you don't usually do.
Yeah,
And so yeah, it was really great. And of course, again, it was before COVID, so like there was no inhibition about leaving there was no
right.
inhibitions whatsoever. People just wanted to hang out with each other and it was fine. And then,
Yep,
and then that changed. But
yep.
yeah, I would do it. I mean, what else is there? I mean, first maybe I'd travel the world, then buy my parents a house, and then maybe I'd throw a party,
Yeah.
you know.
Right,
Priorities. But
but I think I love that idea of, like, taking a dream and saying, "How could I make this happen in a different way?" And ran the Kickstarter, that's amazing, and had a wildly successful event with 800 people for your first event. That's, you know,
yeah.
incredible. So
I mean,
that's really cool.
thank you. I mean, social media marketing world is a show where like it's pretty it's pretty friendly for anyone. It's kind of a softer feel than podcast conferences, which are much more about, it's like a faster growing technical industry, and it's way dominated by men. Whereas I think social media has never, I don't know that it's ever been dominated by men because women are so social,
Mm, mhm,
So I think it's
mhm.
pretty even but like, I don't know. Like, I just started noticing that like none of the t-shirts fit me and they were always navy blue, like stupid
Right,
things like that. Right. So,
right.
um, yeah, but yeah, I mean, yeah, we had 800 people and then 350 the second year,
Yeah, yeah,
which was
okay.
2021. So that was rougher.
Right. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, well, and then we were, yeah, we were in the pandemic time, so what can
Yeah.
for
Right.
sure. So,
Yep.
so awesome. I've got so many questions. That's my
I want
problem.
all of them.
I
I'll
know,
try
I
and get,
know. What was a takeaway from launching that event? What kind of, uh what lessons did you learn from that you are taking forward as you're still having these events going on?
so there are two things that I learned from just doing the events full stop. Number one is I am an arrogant ASSHOLE because I thought I've had 2 weddings, I've done 2 bar mitzvahs. Of course, I can do a conference. Like, it's no big deal. It'll be fine. I have some event experience. It'll all work out fine. Well, you don't sell tickets to those things, right? People are invited to go to those things and they want to go. Whereas
Right,
for a conference, you have got to convince them with every nook and cranny in your body that it is the right thing for them to do,
right.
and you have to do it every day, all day until you just run out of things to say, which usually happens to me like 2 weeks before the event where I'm supposed to be hammering, get your ticket. And I just am like, I'm tapped out of ideas at this point. If you don't have
Yeah.
it now, I can't help you. Like so that's the first thing I learned is like that was very arrogant. And I often think, oh, it's no big deal. I'll just do it.
Right.
And, I like to play my own lawyer, my own therapist. Like, it's never a good idea. And I'm always very arrogant and assuming that I can do it. I don't know if that's ADHD or ego or what, but I should stop doing it, is what I know for sure. And then the second thing is that if you want to be a leader, you can't also be subtle. You have to say exactly what you mean, even if people aren't going to like to hear it. And I had a big problem with this my first year because we did a Kickstarter, and like I said, we had funded $50,000, and then we had open applications for speaking, and speakers get free tickets. So a lot of those speakers had already donated to the Kickstarter, and they decided that they wanted to get the money back because they got a free ticket.
Mm,
And so first I wrote an email and I was like, listen, we so appreciate your support. And it would be better if you could just, find someone else to give your ticket to
right.
rather than have us give you the money back because it's Kickstarter. We can't really give the money, and that didn't work because I wasn't
Mm,
direct enough. I was sort of like, it would be nicer if you did this. And then it was
right.
like, well, I don't want to go through I heard like, I don't want to go through the trouble of doing that. And I'd rather just have the money back if you don't mind. And then I'd have to go back again and be like, well, it's going to be really difficult for us because it was, it was a
Yeah.
donation and
Yeah.
Kickstarter doesn't really do refund.
Uh-huh.
Still too subtle.
Yeah.
It's still too subtle. Finally, I had to just be like, look, that was a donation. These are tickets. Those are different. You
Yeah.
didn't actually buy a ticket because I don't have that money. That's Kickstarter money,
Yep.
and
Yep.
these are ticket sales. You haven't actually bought one of those. What you
Yeah.
did was donate to something different. We can't give your money back. I'm very sorry. But it
Yeah.
took like 3 or 4 emails for me to get to that point, and a lot of frustration, like, why don't they understand?
Yeah.
Why can't they read my mind? Why don't they know what I'm trying to say? I'm trying to be nice here. That's
Yeah.
not what leaders do, right?
Right.
Leaders don't try to be nice. They do what's best, even if it's not nice to hear. They have to do what's best for the business.
Right.
And I had never had to learn that lesson before because before I had She Podcast, I was a graphic and web designer and a consultant. So like I never had to my business was just my business. Like nobody really had to discuss what I was doing with it or what was best for it because it wasn't nearly as public or even, there weren't even employees. It was just moi.
Right.
So yeah, so that was a
Right.
hard lesson
And
to learn. Yeah.
yeah, that is a hard lesson. And I think it's hard. I think also there's, that should we try and sugarcoat things, like you said, try and be nice about it. But I think the direct approach is always, I always think someone told me that being direct is kind. And I was
It is.
like,
That's
you
true.
know, I never thought of it that way because it is easier to understand. It's easier for everybody. There's not, this miscommunication. It's
Yeah.
just,
I
so
mean, I'm a communications major, so it's twice as embarrassing, right? Like I'm like, I studied this shit and I should be able to do it. So I stopped, I had a little bit of self-awareness and I stopped doing it. And then I came up with, which not is nothing like no landmark whatsoever, but like, I now deliver news in a compliment sandwich.
Mhm.
Which is like
Yeah.
what you do, right? So it's like, I love
Yes.
that you're so excited and I wish we could do this for you, but we're not gonna be able to. But I still love you and you're amazing. Bye. And
Yeah.
I don't know if it's for me or them to
Right.
tell you the truth, but like
Yeah.
certainly a nicer way to deliver news people don't want to hear.
Yeah. That's
Is just
that's
just
true.
throw kindness in there wherever you
Yeah.
can. And then it's like it,
Yeah.
it lands nicer.
Yeah, and the other thing I think that you said that I, love too, that I think people don't understand, be it an event or be it anything you're selling,
Anything, right.
is how much you have to sell. I just was talking to
Yes,
a
that's so
client
true.
this I was talking to a client this morning who was like, "No one's buying this." And I said, "Well, how often are you emailing about it? How often are you emailing your list about it?" It was like once every 2 months. I'm like, "Well,
Oy
they don't
vey.
they don't know it's there."
They are
So
forgetting about you. Yeah.
right. So you have to promote way more than you think is uh, good.
Yeah.
You people miss messages. They're not opening the emails. They're not watching. They're not seeing it. And then they're like, "Oh yeah, I think I heard about that." I'm like, "Are you kidding me? I've been talking about it every day." So,
Yeah. So yeah,
so
my
yeah.
last corporate job, I was selling advertising like for a newspaper, our local newspaper here in Delaware and their website. That was my first marketing job.
Mhm,
And I told myself this story. I mean, I was wildly uncomfortable calling people and asking them for money. And I don't
mhm,
know why. It's obviously part of my money story. And I told myself that, like if you become a graphic designer, you can design the ads and you don't have to ask people to buy them.
right,
This is a very old story that I've told about myself, which is like, I don't like asking people for money. So, like, also didn't realize when I put myself in the position of being an event planner, and that first year, I really didn't have to do a lot of begging. But during a pandemic, you have to work a little harder. So, like,
right.
here I am with this story in my head of like, I hate asking for money. And it's like, it's just crashing together in my brain. It still does. Like, I just started a 501(c)(3 hoping that it would make it easier for sponsors to support. And like, now I'm realizing that I just signed up for fundraising for have to do it
Whole
again.
different animal. Whole different
And
animal.
it's
That's
a
asking
whole
for people
different
for money.
level of asking people for money.
Right,
And like
right.
I either am trying to learn this lesson in this lifetime or I don't think far enough ahead when I do things. But, like, either way, I don't seem to like it, but I mean, you have to remember in sales that what you're doing is offering help, and I think when you
Right.
can keep that in mind, it's a lot easier because
Right.
I've heard, and I'm sure you have too, so many people who complain about social media because they don't like sales, and what
Mhm.
just because you see a lot of sales doesn't mean you have to do a lot of sales.
Right.
You can do it your own way and explain what you're doing and why it's helpful, and that's what I've been trying to keep in mind.
Right. Right. And the interesting thing is too, even like you having this successful event, still like, struggling with the whole sales side of things
Yeah,
ongoing. I do as well. But you know how much benefit people get from this event. People love it.
yeah.
It's life-changing. It
Mhm.
is magical. People create these friendships that
They
they
cry when they
yeah,
tell me
they
about it, which is
yes.
like,
Yeah,
for
and it's
someone
a
dead inside, I can get a little a little uncomfortable. But, like, but I mean, I try really hard to feel what they're saying to me and have it make an
right.
impression even if I can't cry. Like
Right, right.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing, and
Thank you.
and it's so interesting, that we still, even with all this magic happening from the
Mhm.
event, that we still have this resistance to actually selling it, and that is what happens to me as well. So, I
Yeah,
think for anyone listening, have that takeaway of, like, you don't have to love selling in order to sell. You
right.
you have to keep it that in mind, the transformation that you're selling, right? The
Yes.
beautiful thing, the beautiful moments, all that, the life-changing experience. So that's great. Um, yeah.
Yeah. I'm assuming you're familiar with, I think it's Stephen Pressfield and, like, your 5 characteristics or whatever.
Mm,
Do you know what I'm
I
talking about?
yeah,
Like, one of
remind
them's
me about it. I love his War of Art, but I'm not
is it that, or it might be the Gallup, it's like, basically, you take a long test about, and they give you your 30 top traits of your personality,
okay.
how people, what you're best at. And like one
Yeah.
of mine is woo, which means I could sit down in front of any stranger and charm them into being my friend. And
Uh-huh.
then another one is futuristic, which means that I can help people see their future. I
Mm,
can help them visualize what life will be like if, and not
yes.
socially, but like, like in marketing.
Yeah.
So, I'm very good, I think, at getting podcasters to wanna come. It's
Yeah.
the sponsors that I think I don't know how to woo them
Mm,
because
mhm.
because really, I mean, I know what the benefits are for sponsors to sponsor events,
Right.
but, like, it feels like a different sell.
Mhm.
Um, but I guess my point is, like, when you are doing social media and you're selling your own thing, that, like, you know, um find out what your traits are that help people understand you and then use them. Like,
Yeah.
use a lot of, like, for me, the futuristic stuff, like, imagine you're here and this is how you feel. Wouldn't that be amazing? Like, I use that a lot because I know
Yeah.
that I'm effective at it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I like that. I like that. And it's true. It's not, it's painting that picture that is true because you've helped
Mhm.
people get there. You've helped people grow their podcast. You've helped, all these people feel more confident and find their voice, like you said, to,
Yeah.
you know, create that, actualize that dream inside of themselves and
Yeah.
actually get that podcast going because
Isn't
they
it
know what
hard
it
to
takes.
explain though, like, what you get out of podcasting? Like, I know what I get out of it and
Yeah.
why I enjoy it. But is it hard because if you're not like, well, I just like having my own show because I always thought I would be the next Johnny Carson, people don't usually react to that as well as, like, something else, which is like it's so fulfilling. Like, I don't know about that. I really just always wanted to have my own show.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's why I started it. What about, like, for you? Like, what do you get out of it the most, you think, of having your
Oh,
own
for
show?
sure. I also thought I would be, Johnny Carson or and then maybe not
Yeah.
Johnny Carson. I think
Kat Sajak,
like
maybe?
Ellen,
Yeah,
maybe Ellen.
Ellen. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And so that was my yeah, but I got so much more out of it for me.
Mhm.
It's been so inspiring hearing these stories, talking to people, realizing how much we have in common, realizing how much people struggle and
Mhm.
even though outside it looks successful, we see that backstory of how hard they worked, and we're like, "Oh, thank God. I thought it was just
Yeah.
me working this hard." And it's,
It's a relief for sure.
Yeah.
And the fact
Yep.
that you put that out for people our age, I think is really valuable
Mhm.
because I'm starting to note, at first I was like, I don't know what people are talking about. Like, there's no midlife thing happening. Like, everyone seems to be fine with midlife. And then I start noticing in movies that like Chris Evans is like paired up with like a 25-year-old. And I was like, that dude's my age. He's supposed to be paired up with Anna Faris. What is happening right now?
I know.
Like he's
Yeah.
still in rom-coms with the same age girls he was 20 years ago, and it's
Yep.
ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so I'm starting to notice it now, but like
Yeah.
it feels there are things that make you feel invisible, and it's silly because we're smarter and more successful
Right.
than we've ever been.
Right, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, and that's the whole point is I think that people, just are like, "Oh, it's time to retire, you old
Why
person,"
did they make the retirement at 50? Like that just seems
Uh,
crazy to me
yeah,
now.
yeah, I don't know.
I mean, like I'm still like I'm 48 and like I would be so bored
I have so much to do. I've got a lot to do.
to do and say and
Yeah,
accomplish, and like 50
right.
just seems like you're throwing it in right when it gets good.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe that's because everyone worked for a boss, maybe it was just
Yeah,
different when you're right, like everyone worked for a boss and
yeah,
we didn't have as
yeah,
many creative options for work as we do now. Anyway,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So let's talk about we were talking about beforehand. We were talking about some of
Okay,
the
sorry.
some di no, no, no. We were talking about some of your disasters because I do like
Oh
to talk
yeah.
about I do like to talk about disasters.
Yeah,
But
love it.
let's talk about specifically you know, in running the event because I kind of
Okay. Oh
I
yeah.
think for people who are thinking of doing an event uh, and have a dream to put an event together, like what are some of the pitfalls? You obviously had the biggest disaster of COVID that hit, but like what are some other things that
I won't even get into that. That
I
was so
know,
crazy.
yeah, some other pitfalls or disasters that you thought were
Okay. Yeah, I have a good
disaster at
one,
the time.
right? Okay,
All
so
right.
the first year I was doing the event, so She Podcast was just a community, and Elsie and I got paid via PayPal, and then we would just pay each other from that. I never had a business bank account. So when I decided I wanted to do the event, I opened a business bank account for the first time, like I would say June, and the event was in October.
Mhm.
And I opened a bank account at TD Bank. I hooked it up to Kickstart, so that money was there, ticket money was in there, sponsor money, everything was in there. And you could clearly see if I opened it up how much money was in there. However, my event was out of state and TD Bank is not in Georgia. I didn't know that it was, I mean, I thought it was national, but I don't know. All I know is it wasn't where I was.
Uh-huh.
And so as a result, it wouldn't let me wire the amount of money for the hotel that I needed to wire, which by the way was like $60,000.
Oh my gosh.
So they won't set up an event unless they've been paid. So like yeah, so like I'm there, it's like Friday night, the opening party is supposed to start and I have my computer up and I'm like, "You see I have the money. I'm not hiding it from you.
Oh
I
my
just
gosh.
can't give it to you." And like the bosses at the Marriott were like, "Well, we're sorry, there's nothing we can do." And like the woman working with me was like, "All right, let's just figure this out." Then I was on TD, phone with TD for like hours and hours trying to get them, "Can you at least release it for one?" "No, well, it's a very new account." Like, it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. I ended up having to pay them in $5,000 installments all at one time. So this woman sat there with me while I made 12 $5,000 payments all in a row for however
Oh
long
my
it took. It was humiliating. It was to
god.
I mean, I didn't know I had no way of knowing in advance that that was gonna ever be a problem,
Right. Right.
right? Like, how are you
Oh
supposed
my
to know?
gosh.
So, like, I
Right.
guess my advice is open the account now, even if you're not sure you wanna do it. Because I think if I had been more established, it would have been less of an issue, but it was a brand
Yeah.
new yeah,
Right.
there's all kinds of
Wow.
stuff that just comes up that you don't realize is gonna come up. Oh, another thing that happened was, I mean, like, let's say you're at a conference. What's the worst possible thing you can think of to forget to order? Like, you
Coffee.
think, okay, well, coffee is important, but that's easily fixed.
Yes, yes.
We we approved, but apparently never purchased our name badges.
Oh, no.
in
Oh,
plastic, printed with a gorgeous background, the whole thing. And I went back in the chain and saw that she sent me a proof, and then I gave her a change, and she sent me another proof, and I said great, and then nothing happened. And I didn't realize this until I was like about to give them out.
oh
Then
my
I was like,
god.
"Oh, no, we have no na." So, I don't know how, but somehow they printed them and overnighted them. Maybe they were close to Georgia, or I don't remember, but by some miracle, they were there, not the opening night, but the next day when people were
Oh, thank
starting the
goodness.
conference. I know, but holy crap, what a disaster.
Oh
It
my
was
god.
terrible.
Oh my
I'm trying to think
god.
if there were any more. That was the worst one, was the name tags, because of all
Yeah.
things, right? Like
Right,
lanyards,
right.
who cares? You can just pin the
Yeah,
stuff
you
on.
can
Like,
right, you can work around, yeah.
it was so terrible. And then, trying to think. I think at one point during the party, I don't think this was my like the people that I was there with, but like someone, hmm, there's all this AV equipment left in the ballroom, because they do lighting and sound all day long, and you don't just take it all out and then put it back in. And I think during one of the parties, or after one of our parties, everyone had gone to bed, and apparently, and no one told me this till after the event, by the way, so I had no idea. But apparently, someone came in the ballroom and took a leak on the electric equipment.
What?
Like, I don't know who,
What?
I can't imagine who it was. Like I said, it was, like, in the middle of the night,
Yeah.
and Chris Krimitsos, who was helping me with my event from Podfest, like, he took care of the whole thing, didn't tell me till the event was, like, a
Oh
week
my
over.
god. Oh
I
my
was like,
god.
"What do you
Well,
mean someone peed in the ballroom? What?"
feels like that's a guy move. I'm saying
Totally. I
I
know it
don't
wasn't
think
a
it's
she
gonna be one of the women.
podcaster. Couldn't have been a she podcaster, but still, like, a disaster. That thankfully I didn't need to. I wouldn't even know the first thing to do
Yeah,
if that happens. I mean, I
that
guess
is
call
crazy.
housekeeping. What else is there? That's the only thing I would think of to do,
That is the most bizarre story I think I've heard about a
right?
conference.
It was so bizarre, and thank God he shielded me from it. Um, yeah, that was,
Yeah,
yeah. So yeah, those are my first year disasters, the three biggest ones.
yeah,
You
yeah,
live through it. It
yeah,
becomes
exactly.
fine.
Yeah, I don't even know what kinda lessons you take away from that. I don't
I mean, yeah, like I said, the first one, just
Luck
get your bank account as soon as you want a
yeah,
business, just
right.
open that account. You can always close it, just
Yeah,
open it. Open it now, do it now. Go on Bank of America and open it now. It's very easy.
right.
And
Yeah,
then, I guess for the second one, what could I learn from that?
I don't know,
Double
just
check
yeah,
everything.
checking. I think that's amazing. That's a hard
Don't
thing as well.
assume
Hard to
it's
think of
done.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so let's talk, just a little bit about, like, you know, when you are overwhelmed, obviously, it's a huge endeavor to put together an event.
Mhm.
When you've been overwhelmed, how have you gotten your mojo back there?
Ooh, that is harder. Like, how to get your mojo back when you're overwhelmed. I mean, it's ironic that you say this, because this has only been a problem for the last 4 days for me, and I usually forget the previous years. So, like, I'm very calm and relaxed and everything in good time and all things are happening, and then 8 weeks prior, the day that it's 2 months prior, so April 19th on the dot, everyone starts hammering me with questions. Everyone has requests. Speakers stop being able to come. Sponsors want to change things around, always at the 2-month mark. So
Mm,
it's like everything's fine and quiet. And then all of a sudden, it's like being in a rainstorm of communications. And so, actually, it's affecting my sleep, because even if I'm not working, I'm laying awake worrying about the stuff that I always worry about what I'm going to forget. Because I think with
mm,
ADHD, I'm conditioned not to trust myself,
mm,
and so even if I have to-dos, and, even if I use my inbox as like a to-do, like, I still lay awake going, like, "Am I gonna get it all?" "What if I forget this person and I can't," and I
yeah.
start making more lists at 3 in the morning, and then I'm exhausted. So honestly, the first thing I try to do is sleep. Like,
Mm,
when
mm,
I can, if I can,
mhm.
especially if I know that, like, stress is gonna keep me up. There's nothing I mean, I could try and drug myself, but then you're just spacey all the next day. It's
Yeah.
hard.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
I try to go with the flow.
yeah.
Um, and also I in the past, when I'm totally overwhelmed, really the only way to refresh is to go somewhere without being able to be contacted
Mm,
for just, I mean, I'm not saying a full day, because that's crazy talk, but like a couple hours. Go to dinner, go to a
yeah.
movie, go to a friend's house, 3 hours tops where
Yeah.
nothing can interrupt and you can be fully present, because
Right.
I think that is a skill that, like, we're not fully present even when we're not overwhelmed, but it is oddly mentally refreshing, I think,
Mm.
is to just be only worried about the thing that's in front of you.
Yeah. Yeah. I love
Yeah.
that because
Yeah.
that's huge, and I think it is very mentally refreshing. Go outside to, just
Yeah.
enjoy, leave your phone behind, know that you can't be contacted and take a break.
I
So
had a friend, with breast cancer. She died a couple of years ago, like, right when the pandemic started, but, her daughter and my son were friends in preschool, and, so I'd been friends with her for a while, and we would have her over here, and I have no idea if this is cancer, if it was just Erica, but she's the only friend I've ever entertained that came over with no other agenda, nowhere else to be, and no phone, within her reach to keep checking. Like, she would come
mhm,
over and, like, if she wanted to stay for dinner, she could stay for dinner. If she wanted to stay for the night, she could, like, there was nothing rushing her out the door. There was
mhm,
nothing, there was no other obligation than being there with me. And
mhm.
it taught me a lot because she seemed very relaxed. You know what I mean? And I think that's
Yeah.
the way to be, and I don't think a lot of us remember how to be social like that, to
Right.
just
Right.
fully focus on the person that whose company you're enjoying. That's a
Yeah.
hard skill to, I think, to cultivate. So when I'm overwhelmed, I try to do that because it's a complete mental break from the things that are hammering me.
Mhm.
I know that sounds very violent, like it's happening to me. It's not. I
Mhm.
mean, you know what I mean? But that
Right.
language,
Right, right,
I just
right.
noticed that language was a little violent, but, like, um, and maybe that's how it feels, but
Yeah.
it's not really violent. It's just that,
Yeah.
it's a lot and
Yeah.
you just have to totally turn it off,
Right. Right.
which is hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That is a skill. That is a
it
skill, but
is.
yeah, a good one to practice, so that's
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
So, I can't believe, like I said before, I was telling you before, it's, like, hard for me, these half-hour interviews. I love the time frame, but it's like, I just wanna keep talking for, like, another
I
hour.
mean, if it's 45 minutes, it's your show, really. Like, you can do whatever
I
you
know.
want with your
I
show. I
know.
always found that, like, stuff got really interesting around the 45-minute mark, and then
Yeah.
it's like, "Well, how am I gonna end it now?"
Yeah, right, right.
So my shows were really long when I did interview shows, 'cause same with you, I never wanted to stop talking, but, I
I
mean, you're
know.
right. I mean, the half hour is kind of ideal, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
So,
Sorry,
well,
not to
why don't you I wanna just, we'll definitely get to where people can find information
Yeah,
about
it's
She
okay.
Podcast Live, but I wanna, have you share your favorite quote or inspirational saying.
I have 2 actually. 2 female comedian quotes. The first one is Lucille Ball, and her quote is, "I'm not funny, what I am is brave." And I
Love
thought,
it.
how true is that? Because, I mean, yeah, anybody can write a joke, right?
Yeah,
But, like, not
yeah,
everyone can stand up there and tell them. And
yeah.
then my second quote is Joan Rivers, actually, who said, "I made my living saying what everyone else is thinking." And people tell me that I do that all
Oh,
the
you
time.
do. You just say it. You just say
Yeah.
it. If anyone wants, like, an honest opinion, just talk to Jess. She's like, she will lay it out there for you.
Even with a
And it's
compliment
amazing.
sandwich, I will lay
It's
it
a
out for
compliment
you.
scene. That's it, right?
Yeah, but I'll lay it out
Everything.
for you. Yeah, so I love that because it's like it's my aspiration is to make my living saying what other people are thinking. Like,
Mm,
she is
mhm.
the master of doing that, but I would like to incorporate that more, I think, if
Yeah,
I could,
love it.
you know?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Love it. Well,
Thank
let's
you.
talk about where people can go to find
Yes.
out about She Podcast Live, shepodcastlive.com, right?
Yep, shepodcastlive.com. It is exactly 2 months away. It's gonna be really fun. It's in Washington, DC. We have amazing keynotes, including Miss Andrea Ball. We also are going to have, like, an immersive listening experience one night. We're gonna have an award show one night. Um, it's gonna be amazing. And just the vibe and the people there are just amazing. You get to network with all kinds of brilliant, successful people in all different stages of podcasting, and they're all there to help each other through it, which
Yeah.
is like, and with no competition, no judgment, no nothing, no
Yeah.
salesmanship, no nothing. So,
Yeah.
it's quite an experience. So, I'm
I
excited. It'll be
can't
your
wait.
first one, and I'm excited to have you. It's gonna be
I
great.
cannot wait. I'm so excited, and I
Yay.
know, so if anyone the other thing that I love about you and Elsie both, who you bring together this community. You curate cool people, amazing
Mhm.
people, bring
Yeah.
them all into a community and lift each other up. And that's what it's all about. It's just so encouraging, such a great place to be. And
Mhm.
I'm excited. I can't wait to experience it live. So awesome.
Me
And we'll have
too. Thank you so
links
much.
in, yeah, links in the show notes here. And thank you, Jessica, so much for your time. It was, as always, fun and awesome to talk to you.
You too.
Mm.
Thank you so much for having me. Take care.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Sorry. I've already fucked it up, but it sounded like a gong.
Was it?
Yeah, did you hear that?
No,
It's
it
when I
must
was at
be
the
just in
gong
your
show,
head.
then you're like, sorry. I'm sorry.
It's awesome.
God, all right.
Hope that was helpful, and make sure you grab the free guide, Top Tools for Late Starters, on the website at latestartersclub.com. And let's turn dreaming into doing.